So, hi guys, and welcome to our next edition of our live interviews. So, today I'm interviewing Luke Mahony of Integrative Health. Delighted Luke came in to join us in ATP and just continuing our mission to educate and help kind of debunk all the myths that you might have. So, we're going to have a discussion here and we hope you enjoy it. So, Luke, thanks for coming in. I just want you to introduce yourself, let people know who you are, who might not know who you are.
My name is Luke Mahony. Personal trainer. Well, was a personal trainer for 3 years. Background in business management with like formal education per se. Worked as a full-time personal trainer and then made a transition into online solely. So at the moment, I set up Integrative 10 months ago. So it's solely online, just coaching based. Same as personal training, just without the face-to-face aspect. Programming, nutrition, mentoring, all that type of stuff. Just again, it just takes the face-to-face element out of it, and there's check-ins weekly, that type of stuff. You do the same thing here with your nutrition style of stuff. It's just no face-to-face per se.
Yeah. Just I suppose on the business side of stuff, to touch on that quickly, how did you find when you moved to online and dealing with clients? Did you find you had to adapt to the new online strategy?
Yeah. Well, like as I said, I've been fully online for like 3-4 years now, so I'm well used to it. But when I first made the transition, because I didn't slowly like graded exposure, like start putting 2-3 clients online and then move. I literally went from all PT one day to the next day all online. Due to a change in roles and a change in careers, which I was offered, it simply was just within 24 hours a change, which was obviously quite daunting. But the biggest thing which I found, as we just touched on there like a second ago before we started recording, was that personal trainers, and the thing with online is that it's perceived as a luxury, and you're on a beach sipping a cocktail on your laptop, wherein like I've really truly believed that the 3-4 years as a full-time personal trainer, building the groundwork of communication skills, empathy skills with clients was massively helpful. And I think if I didn't have that going into an online coach based scenario, I would have found it massively difficult, because like coaching and PTing someone, as you know, face to face, you can empathize with them, you can understand their emotions, whereas like emails, texts, it's black and white. It's a lot harder to get messages across and stuff, and I found that groundwork certainly helped.
And that side of coaching people, I suppose we both know that it's way more than just nutrition now, than just training. There's other aspects and stuff like. So when someone comes to you, do you look at their overall lifestyle, overall health as an approach in regards like questionnaires and trying to get into their mentality, their side of things?
Yeah, so that's why like when I set up Integrative, the whole ethos behind the brand and behind what the name, the colour, the logo, everything is Integrative Health, and that everything we are not like. I found that like a lot of times when I was coaching and PTing, that people kind of get this perception that we're two different systems of like, or a few different systems of like psychology, physiology, and that they work separately, whereas like integrative health is about everything as combined as one entity. You know, your behavioral change, your psychosocial factors, your nutrition, your mentality, your stress levels, all that stuff is health. And that's why I wanted to get across with integrative health, not just what you eat and how you train, but you know, when you go home, you know, your absence of disease, all that type of stuff, and how self-confident you feel yourself, that is all under the big umbrella of health.
So I suppose like on that, the health for me is something that we should all be striving for. Health is different for different people, but the obsession that is there at the moment, especially among the younger people and or even ourselves, Instagram, of this perfect body image. So chasing the perfect body image, and like I've done photo shoots, you know, I've done competitions, you know, you've done cuts, you know, the drill, you've done cuts for people, but the body image that we're chasing there now, that we think is perfect, that's not necessarily health, is it?
No, like from a theoretical direct perspective, it's actually like the direct opposite of health. Like pushing yourself to that boundary it's not healthy at all. From a physiological, social, psychological perspective, you obviously know you've competed before and stuff. Getting to that lean, there's nothing healthy about that. And I think that's mainly down to a filter bubble style effect of like, obviously within the realm of fitness industry, it has to be, social media is big. Like, I mean, I know there's people out there say like it's not all relying on social media. It's not at all. I don't have a huge following at all. I built a solid business. You have an unbelievable business. You know, we don't have a big following, so it's not everything, but it is still very important. And I think the realm of fit fam and like fitness Instagram, that filter bubble effect just solely condenses it to regards to an aesthetic outcome and kind of slightly disregards the health outcome. Because it is like when you're following these people and they're putting up about their cuts and their photo shoots and everything like this, you can quickly get absorbed into just that aspect and like associate or correlate that with health when there's so much more to it, like, you know.
And like I suppose the issues I see is that when people come, I'm assuming you see the same, is that they come in thinking, I'm going to get ripped, or I'm going to lose 2 stone very quickly because I've seen this person do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you bring it back to what I call general population people, who the majority of our clients will be, when you bring it back to them people, it's trying to get them to understand that small health markers improving is the way forward. But if you've been ingrained in thinking you have to look a certain way, like, how do you deal with clients when they say, I want to look this way, but they haven't looked at the foundations of stuff? Like,
being honest, I just be brutally honest with them. There was a point when I first started out, when I was like, try work around them, like Play-Doh, try just get them started, mould them a bit. But if they come to me with very poor health markers in place, first of all, like say some Gen Pop comes to me or comes to you or comes to us, let's say, and you've obviously had this before, and they're like, I'd love to do a photo shoot, but they're working 60 hours a week. They smoke 5-10 fags a day. They're stressed off their mind. They drink on weekends. They have poor nutritional habits. They don't sleep. All this stuff. Then it's up to me, I feel, as a coach, to be like, absolutely not right now. I feel like that's just my duty that they're paying me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because although I do, like, from my personal coaching perspective, I like to build a really good relationship with my clients, almost to a personal aspect of, like, I have crack with them and all this stuff. I still have to put myself in a coach's shoes sometimes, like, look, that's not feasible. Yeah. Because going back to day one stuff that everyone learns in PT school and in courses is that realistic goals. I mean, like, if you're coming and want to do a photo shoot in 10 weeks, there's probably people out there that can do that, but I'm not that guy. Do you know what I mean? I would rather get your health markers in place first, play a long-term game, and then get there.
Yeah. So I suppose, I talk from personal experience, like, I don't regret doing competitions and shows and stuff, but I understood what was happening in my body. I feel there's people, especially younger people, going into shoots, unless they have a coach who's telling them straight out, and they're going hell for leather, dieting unbelievable, training really hard, hitting the photo shoot, and then just rebounding completely and being lost. Like, I see the mental aspects of it, and when you go photo shoot is the extreme, but even if you see people for a holiday come in and they go 6 weeks, 8 weeks of they'll perfect, and then they go on holidays and then they come back, and for me it's the mental aspect of that I find is always trying to get into somebody to go, we have to start looking at 12 weeks, 6 months, a year from now. Like, is there, as humans, is there a way that we can kind of get into that, or is it a case of like 6 weeks is just what people are?
I think, see, although I use them, and like, again, going back to what I said with the filter bubble cell effect, I think transformation pictures, and although again they're a handy marketing tool, I use them, they're important without a doubt, but I think it's the buy-in of the outcome, sole outcome of what you see there, and neglecting the process is what people buy into. As in, like, there I see that and I want there, so let me get into it. Where you're like, that might, like, over half my clients have been with me over a year, like, and like, obviously I get people that come 12 weeks on and off, stuff like that. Exactly. But like, with that, it's just like, you have to, try to reinforce the fact that of the process type stuff. Yes, the outcome is the end goal, and when you come into one consultation, it's like, I want to get to have, just even like, for some people it may just be simple, I want to see my abs. Okay, like, absolutely nothing wrong with it if that's your goal for someone who's never had that before. But like, you first I'd ask them why do they want it, if it's important enough, and then reinforce the process and play the long game, as I was saying. And even if it's a photo shoot or something like that, as you said, like, I see it all the time, people going on holidays and they blow up, or they look as a diet, as in a mindset perspective, look as a diet as a sole means to achieving that outcome, and then they stop. Whereas like, with someone, I'm like, okay, I want you to think as this, like, I can keep these habits up on holidays, enjoy myself. And I even put in my story yesterday, I came back from holidays, like, going on holidays and stuff, shouldn't be an or even a shoot, whatever it may be, it shouldn't be an expectancy to gain like 10 pounds straight away, like, because that's a reflection of your nutritional habits and where you are with your mindset, and that all the stuff you did, regardless of how many hours of care you did, it probably wasn't suited to you, because your mindset with that is not sustainable.
I think I call it the 70-year-old mindset. So what I tell people is, like, when you start training, when you start dieting, look at it as, you should be, like, in my opinion, exercising regularly till you're 70, if longer if you can. So treat your training that way.
Exactly.
So don't go training 6-7 times a week absolutely flat to the mat, because you won't get that up. Same with your nutrition. So your nutrition, if you come in and you change all your nutritional habits, it's like, for the rest of your life, are you going to eat this way? Probably not. Now, if you want to get a bit leaner for a holiday, I understand that. But I'm saying that, from the overall health side of things, you have to start looking longer term. Whereas we have this yo-yo diet effect. And I said this, I also said this before, it's what really keeps us in business sometimes.
Exactly,
like, people coming and going. But like, do you feel there's a point where it's flipped. So it was just training, it was just nutrition, and now we understand now there's a lot more involved. There's stress, there's sleep, there's mindset. Do you feel that people are very hesitant to look at the mindset stuff, the stress stuff? Do you know?
Yeah, I think there's like a crossover in that we are kind of getting out of the realm of it's not just what you eat, and you know, that classic reductionism kind of style of people just need to eat less and move more. Like, we know it's not just that. Like, I mean, that's just fairly arbitrary advice to give someone. But I think there's also crossover that some people can push it too far into like a holistic approach, as in like you need to go out and take your socks and shoes off and you lose fat, and you need to do a backflip every morning at 6 a.m. Do you know, all this stuff where, okay, it might add 0.00001% to the people that have everything else nailed, but the fundamentals will always overrule everything. I really like how the industry has slowly come out of, although it will always be primarily heavily aesthetic based, starting getting more health focused as well into the other aspects of not just physical health but mental health, social health, you know, all that type of stuff that comes in with and helps with physical outcomes then.
Yeah, I definitely think that you touched on it there, the social health side of things. If you are dieting excessively, like, you know, your social life takes a massive hit. And people underestimate that, you know, if you're not being able to go with friends and be able to bring in, like, not do the dog, but even once a week, bring a meal into your plan and stuff like that, that's how we should be approaching any weight loss plan, whatever, like, you know, that you can just walk it in. So, like, on that side of things, like, you know, being able to walk things in, you know, even when you're on a fat loss plan, the science and the confusion, like, let's just touch on calories in and calories out. I think it's everywhere now, everyone's posting about it, and, you know, it's what the norm is. Clients, and I know from personal experience, clients are still very much trying to look at other things than calories. It is way more than just calories, 100%. But the basic fundamentals, which I always say this, in 10 years time I could be speaking differently about science, could have advanced more, but right now it's energy balance, it's controlling that.
100%.
How do you get that across to your clients? What's your takes on people who calories in, calories out, and might battle calories in, calories out and say it's other things?
I know. I suppose that all started with that James Smith influencer guy, because the thing is, there's, what I find is, like, I'm not saying this about him because he's a very knowledgeable guy and he puts out some great content, but like superficial knowledge on a topic paired with very low competence and high confidence can be dangerous. Do you know? So like someone who knows just the basics has very high confidence in putting out content, not to bash influencers or anything, but a lot of them do, but a very low understanding, because they have such a large audience, and especially within fitness, that can be dangerous. But like, if there is people doing that and the message is right, then calories in, calories out, it's not wrong. I mean, there's no one can argue it is what it is about, but it's, again, going back to what we said with like health and progressing off the different thing, calories in, calories out, I can't remember the exact statement now, but there was a statement and it was like, it's a relative variable based on like neurological, microbial, social factors. So it's, yes, it is the primary principle of weight and fat loss, but it's influenced by a lot more. It's influenced by how you view it. Again, just going back to the mindset side of things, if I give you a Mars bar, and do you view that as calories in, calories out, or do you view that as a cheat or a treat? Those two simple labeling terms can mean massive different things, and they can have a massive different outcome, because someone eats a Mars bar and they're like, I fit into my calories for the day, 90% of my diet is well controlled, nutrient dense and tailored towards my goals, that's perfectly fine, no guilt. Or you give it to someone and they're like, oh no, I just absolutely did the dog in it and I have to start again tomorrow and they're riddled with guilt, I may as well go the rest of the night and eat other stuff now. That something so simple, as I say to people, the food labelling side of things can have a massive outcome. So I think getting the foundation, as you said, the foundational aspects of the principles, like being, like, not going into too sciencey stuff of the exact mechanisms of fat loss or anything like that, but the simple stuff, and then nailing the mindset stuff around that is very important. But also kind of teaching clients and population of content that it's not just about that either, because there's other variables. But if we did teach people on how to grasp the mindset side of things with the calorie side of things, and also just touch on the other stuff, I think we'd be doing very, very well.
I agree. And I also think, like I've said, and I've done a bit of writing on, I always say, I use calorie counting is flawed, but it's the best we have right now. That's how I see it, because like people will kind of nail it and it's like, it's excellent, this gives you this, you know, this variable of calories, whatever. Like, but if you work out your calories, whether it's the right amount or not, if you follow this for a period of time, you'll figure out back and forth. The issue is people don't follow it for 7-14 days to figure it out, like, you know. So I do hope down the line, I said it's key in a lot that there's another way of, like, it is creating energy balance, but it's just a better way, because it can be confusing for the real general population, 100%. New person coming in, trying to figure out about calories. And we've been bombarded, even though people say it's the 90s, like it was in the 90s, it's very much still now. The evil carbohydrate still has this fear factor amongst everybody. I'm going to cut my carbs. Like, can you explain a little bit as to why that's still there, maybe, in your opinion, and like get people across that, it really isn't the carbs, but why they might think it is?
Yeah, I mean, a few years ago I would have put this down. I had I did another podcast on this, and I got asked a similar question, and I suppose it kind of stemmed from the whole 80s and 90s of when food, especially in the US and around food processing, they changed a lot, because it used to be thought that low fat obviously equals fat loss, and then they changed that to sugar equals fat gain, whereas like if you got into the science of it, it takes, and like it all does come down to calories in, calories out, and carbs, sugar is a carb. It doesn't just relate to sugar. Now, massively excessive intakes of sugar can directly lead to fat gain, but only if the fundamental of calories are excessed. So if you're eating over your daily calories of sugar, possibly yes, they can be converted to fat, but again, it all comes down to calories. But I think that the whole I was even on it's funny you say, I was on a big Cork athletes Instagram this morning, and they posted something, and it was like they were associated with some meal company, and won't go into name names, and they said, oh, brilliant, whatever, protein, sugar, and very low carb. So they were advocating it as low carb, and this person has a massive following, and again, it's just these messages that, like, it's like, for an athlete training that much, you do not, like, not even do you not need that, but exactly, to be conveying that message, then I think it's just related back to the whole thing of like the carbohydrate insulin model of like people thinking that carbs again solely go to fat. Like I've had clients come to me like or they've been like 4 or 6 weeks in, and they've been like, I'm thinking I might try low carb. I'm like, cool, perfect, why? And they're like, oh, just to help lose some fat. Okay, why? And they can't explain it to me. And I'm not saying that being arrogant, but I'm just, then that's my role to come in and be like, look, it's about your overall energy balance is good. You need carbs because you need to fuel your exercise. If you are more efficient in exercise from getting carbohydrates as a fuel, you will therefore burn more calories. Therefore, although we shouldn't be looking at exercise as a means of burning calories, you will then be going into a net deficit more fat loss. Where if it's a preference, and if people generate, like I've had people and they say, look, I just prefer my carbs around training, that's perfectly fine. But if someone comes to you and they're like, I definitely feel like I lose fat on carbs, then I'd have to trash that out with them, like, I'd have to just challenge them on it a bit, and I'd remain open-minded. If they come to me and they say, look, I'll eat the same calories for this amount of weeks of a balanced macronutrients, or I'll eat the same of low carb, and I bet you'll lose more fat, I'd be open to that. But from what we know from both evidence and practically, most people, general population who are exercising regularly, have good health foundations, probably should be eating a diversification of carbohydrates, both through fruit, complex sources, around training, especially if they're training as well.
Do you think nutrient timing is important for Gen Pop?
For Gen Pop, I think to some degree. I actually kind of transitioned a lot. Like years ago, I would have been, yes, you need nutrient timing. I would have been pre-post workout. You have to have fats, which are carbs, to slow down the gastric end, all this stuff. And you have to get carbs in, anabolic window, all this stuff. When I first started to do it, because we all believe that stuff.
Bros,
Exactly, bro science. But then I kind of transitioned, and I was like, because just looking into the science of it more, progressing knowledge, and I was like, nutrient timing, you're fine. If someone came to me and they're like, week one, you get people to ask a lot of questions when you send them on their initial or whatever, and they're like, oh, what about this? I'm working this time, but I'm training here. Is that okay with nutrient timing? I'm like, yeah, fine, just don't work away. But now I think there is some consideration, mainly just with regards to protein distribution, like just something I consider, and more so from not a theoretical perspective of like you need 30 grams of carbs 4 times a day, more so practically to the point of putting nutrient timing as if someone has. Like if they come to me and they say, I had my breakfast, let's say, and I'm training at 4. I didn't eat anything beforehand. Is that okay? Are you going to diet? No. But will you be ravenous to the point that it could affect adherence? And then you go like off the wall if you're surrounded by something in the office. That's where the practicality aspect. I look at it. For Gen Pop, I would just mainly consider like protein distribution. So like very basic, are you getting sufficient overall daily protein? Not that it's everything. Most people overshoot protein, but if you're getting, it's we probably better for most goals and for general population to distribute that evenly throughout the day.
Yeah.
So like 30 to 40 gram servings 3-4 times a day is probably mostly beneficial. Not even from the perspective of muscle gain, fat loss, but for general health as well as satiety being such a filling macronutrient that again it can prevent people from snacking, picking, mindless eating so that they're satiated, and that's the only point I'd look at it. For people that look at it in the perspective of like, oh, I need 40 grams of carbs within 30 minutes and go into the fine details, because it is one of those things that's realistic that you can get really zoned in on major and the minors. I think then that's a bit overlooked. Like,
yeah, no, I agree with you there as well. So just on like supplementation, you know, should everybody be taking some form of supplements in your opinion, number one? If you think so, what supplements? Again, let's talk general population, and then let's talk supplements that you feel people might get caught up in and they, in your opinion, don't necessarily need. I know it's person dependent, but like, what's your go-to for someone, say, general population?
Yeah, again, before I would have been like, had most people on vitamin D. Before, like years ago, it would have been probably a multivitamin, vitamin D, a fish oil, and depending on the population and if they had no prerequisites to harm, creatine, so any renal issues or anything like that. Whereas now, I am a complete minimalist with regards to supplementation. Like, I try to keep it as absolute minimal as possible, mainly from a cost-effective point of view. Because if we're dealing with like general population clients, it's obviously no. They come in, they're paying for a service of PT or nutrition, then they have to buy their food, then they have other commitments, and if I'm giving them something, a box of, I don't know, whatever, a sleep supplement, let's say, that can help them sleep, and that's €40 a month, €50 a month, supplements are expensive, then I have to know that is going to absolutely beneficial to them, like, because that like the reward for that, for as an investment and practicality point of view, just has to be good enough.
Yeah.
Whereas now, most people, being honest, that come to me is just omega-3 fish oils or krill oil if they can, mainly because a lot of people either don't want to or don't like fatty fish, and then creatine for a lot of males. Other than that, I've strayed away from a vitamin D dosing, mainly from the perspective of that most people don't need it unless they get their bloods done and the vitamin D levels are low. Exactly.
Okay.
Multivitamin, mainly just through diversification of veg intake and micronutrients.
Yeah.
So I've really transitioned into a complete minimalist. Like, what's your theory on it? You give...
So I'd be similar in that. So again, I keep coming back, and this is why when I talk and give talks, I tell people I've done all these things. I've made these mistakes, and not necessarily mistakes, but I've learned from them, and that's why I talk this way of them now.
Yeah.
But I bought all the supplements, or whatever. But like, no, I have a multivitamin, I have a fish oil.
Yeah.
That's what I take, and I take protein and creatine. That's they're my go-tos. For someone starting out, like, you know, again, it's like this thing. Do I know 100% that this is going to massively improve their lives?
Yeah.
If it's a no, then do they need to spend money on it? Probably not.
Yeah.
Just to, I suppose, maybe to explain to some people why people should be taking fish oil. So why we do take that one. Could you explain that?
Well, like, from, again, if your intake of fatty fish is low, so like fish oil, omega-3s, krill oil, and what we're mainly looking for there is like EPA and DHA, the two main form of fatty acids, triglycerides that we're looking for, omega-3s. And it's massively associated with general just heart health, eye health, bone health, brain health, like basically everything. Not to mention that, in fact, it kind of indirectly helps with fat loss. And it's mainly that, the point of that, it's one of those things that it's obviously essential to the point that if you're not getting it through, when I look at someone and if I determine I need to give them something, I look at their diet now, I look like at what I'm going to prescribe them or what habit change I'm going to put in place, and then I look at the missing links. So I'm like, does the supplement need to be here? So like, again, fish oil perspective, is someone eating fatty fish now? If yes, they don't need it. Am I going to give them fatty fish? Do they like it? Can they afford it? Is it practical for them to cook? Do they enjoy it? If none of those, I need to give it. If one of those, I can give it. With regards to creatine monohydrate is one of those things, we all know, like, it helps, well, like, it's commonly known to help with recovery in between bouts due to like ATP, pardon the pun, but creatine is actually really cool, to the point that it has really cool research into other areas, such as it helps with, you know, people with fertility issues. It can help with gastric like delay and stuff like that, digestive enzymes. It can help with powering the hairs in your ears for hearing. So it has really cool like stuff. But I usually just give that to people who are newbies or beginners, male and female. Like, I've a lot of females.
That's a question we have for female. Like, should I be taking creatine? And understanding that there might be slight bit of water retention.
Yeah, I actually only did a post on that recently that, like, it's just detaching yourself emotionally from the scales, both males and females in that regard. Like I have males, and obviously when you introduce creatine, because for those of you that don't know, when you introduce creatine, say like you're dosing with 5 grams, which is a standard dose, you will probably put on 2 to 3 pounds because it pulls water intracellularly into the muscle, which is a good thing because it gives you A, more cellular hydration, and B, it gives you a fuller look. So from a aesthetic point of view, you look fuller, you look a bit bigger, filler, which is great. But when you give someone week 1 and their goal on their sheet or whatever, a consultation form is fat loss, and then you say, okay, here's a starting approach, and you meet your first consultation with them after that, and they have gained 2-3 pounds, I always make sure that I sort them the visuals first, so that like, oh wow, I look great, and then make sure that they look at the numerical side of things, because it's just attaching yourself emotionally, because you will gain weight from that.
So let's go there. So the scales, and I found like trying to, like, empathy is a big word I've learned over the years, and learning to show that that I'm not that person. They have different emotions and feelings towards scales. I jump on the scales 2 or 3 times a day because it fascinates me. I love seeing in the morning what I am before I go to bed. I love going to bed and waking up and I'm like 1.5 kilos lighter. I think that's pretty cool to watch. So, but that's my relationship with the scales. I've seen it day in, day out for years as a coach. People have some really bad relationships with the scales, to a point that they'll jump on, they'll be up a pound, and it will absolutely ruin the whole day. Now, before, I'm guilty of, you'd kind of go on, stop giving all the stuff, just kind of bluntly saying, forget about the scales. And I learned to show a bit more empathy and kind of realising you need to understand the scales are going to fluctuate, and as much as people take on board the scales are going to fluctuate, they still can't grasp it. Grasp it. So I suppose, like, from listening to you and hopefully myself, is that, like, it's a measure. But if you don't understand that it can fluctuate 5-6 times a day, it's not a good measure. Like, you know, can you explain, like, the fluctuations that can occur? Let's talk mainly female here, like,
because this one,
why and when you think, like, people should be very aware of this. Like.
To give a cool case study, I had a client, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and she's been with me a while now, and she was dropping she was dropping all along steadily, so it was cool. The scale was going down, and we used that as a metric of progression, as we do with other measures of progression. So it's dropping, and then one day it dropped a lot, because we did a reduction in calories, and paired with other influencing variables, which we'll touch on in a second, she dropped a good bit. Like, usually it was like a pound and a half a week. She dropped like 3 pounds or something. She was over the moon. Like, do you know what I meant? She was like, yes, it'd be so good. So straight away, I flipped the scenario and I said, this is brilliant, it's a win, but don't leave it dictate your mood for the day. And I was like, I do not want you to go around the day with a big smile on your face just because you saw that number going down, because chances are it'll go back up tomorrow. Just as if someone came to me and they were like, oh, it's up a pound, and I'd be like, right, here's why it's up a pound. So, like, for males and females, like, the list of things of, like, when you step on a scale, you have to understand, most people, and again from us as trainers' point of view, they think emotionally before rationally. So when they see that number going up, they think emotionally, shit, what have I done wrong? Like, I had to do something wrong. I'm nailing all the boxes, I'm sleeping well, I'm doing my steps, I'm eating very well, I'm training hard, why is it not dropping? But, like, I only had it from a client this morning, and he said he was up a pound. So I was like, cool. I was like, why? Look, let's trash through that. Like, and this guy's well experienced, like, and he like, but automatically I could see he was getting frustrated. So then I had to explain, like, when you step on the scale, it's a measure of your mass. It is a measure of, people think it's just fat. Like, you step on the scale, it's measuring just fat, whereas it's bone density, fat, water, muscle, organs, all this stuff. Like, if you drink too much water, drink too little water, have too much fiber, have too little fiber, get a tattoo, get sunburned, on antibiotics, on anti-inflammatories, on your period, any of those things, if you eat too late in the night, if you don't chew your food properly enough, chances are they're going to influence the scales. A huge one of people completely don't look at as well is muscle soreness and training. Joe, like, I always personally find with clients that after a heavy lower body session, or maybe a total body session, the weight will shoot up the next day. Reason for that: low grade inflammation, cell swelling, you're holding a lot of fluids in your legs. Give it 2 to 3 days, it'll taper off. And that, like, when you take into account, like, if you go out in the sun, you get sunburned, you will go up in weight. If you get a tattoo, your skin will go inflamed, you go up in weight. It's just about keeping all those things in mind, and just when you step on the scale, like you said, you can step on the scale at night time and see it go up. If that was 90% of people, they'd probably lose their mind. So it's just about educating the person what's influencing that. For some people, then, I've had to do it a lot of time, is just say, right, we're going to ditch it, and, like, we're going to use simply subjective measures, i.e. clothes, i.e. your energy, i.e. your sleep, how you're feeling, and then also objective measures, the main ones being the primary ones, pictures and clothes fittings as well as tape measurements.
Yeah.
And I'd always use those above the scales in a way,
Yeah.
because although scales is a measure of progress and it's very important, I still don't think, because I know some people say ditch it completely, I don't think that's too practical either for people, because it is very important, obviously, especially for maybe very obese individuals. Those are certain populations which you can almost guarantee you will see week on week drops, because they have that extra large fat mass that it will drop off. But as they get leaner, and for those leaner individuals, it's obvious you're more prone to see fluctuations.
That's where I think for a lot of people who have maybe, you know, a few pounds to lose, or they want to lose a stone, like those 1 or 2 pound fluctuations, you have to, they're not going to be massive in your overall body shape, how you're feeling, you know, so it's trying to again detach from it. But I think it's a blame game of, like, you know, people have been brought up that the scales is the only answer. Certain people, won't mention the company, but like have people queuing up to jump on a scales weekly. I just think it has its benefits. It gets people to lose weight who I think are quite overweight, which, you know, happy days. But queuing to jump on a scales to be told good or bad is just it's madness. Like, and you know, but again, you people who will go there and then come to us, and then you're trying to change that relationship. What I've realised is that a lot of people just don't have that education or understanding of it, and it's trying to. So I think you'll see as well. Some clients just get it. There's days where after a while, I was trying to go for like 3 years, and recently I was like, you've got it. I was like, you have it. You've nailed it, and it's like such a good feeling. But it's just trying to giving a little bit of education here and there, rather than like trying to bombard somebody. But I think like the day you can jump on a scales and be up and book, all right, I'm up because one of these few factors, then I think you know on the scales. But until that day, the scales is kind of in charge, and you're trying to flip that relationship is
and even like, I think it's important to empathise, again, as you said, from personal perspective. I was just dieting there up until holidays, and even I myself still get it sometimes where like I'm dieting away, dropping pounds, and then Sunday I'm up like 2 pounds. I'm like, oh jeez, I'm up 2 pounds, and I know all this stuff, and I jump on and I'm like, why am I up 2 pounds? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's why.
It's very easy to forget that, you know, we do have the education, we're kind of trained in it, so it is easier for us, and I always trying to bring myself back into that client kind of mindset. And it becomes, you know, trying to just again explain to them. But I think just people listening to understand the scales, as you said, is one measure. It's not the measure, like, you know. So hopefully we can kind of take from that. The obesity epidemic. Okay, so I suppose on a grand scale of things, I'd love to have some sort of impact in obesity in Ireland. Okay, but my thing is, we talk about it, but do we know what it is? Do we know like what the issues is? So my thing is that health isn't scary enough for people to take action. Like aesthetics is. Holidays, you know, whereas somebody thinking, I might get type 2 diabetes, I might get a stroke or a heart attack, like, you know, it's not until it's too late that people go, shit, I better do something here now. What about, like, you know, how do you bring the fear of prevention instead of cure, like, you know, what's your take on, do you look around and think there's an obesity epidemic, first of all?
I think you'd be absolutely mental to think there isn't. Like from the statistics that just came out recently with regards to childhood obesity, and that, like, what is it, 1 in 4 now is obese, and that we now passed out Malta, like second most obese country in Europe, I think, anyway, I'm pretty sure on that, close to be the most obese country in Europe by like 2030 or something like that. Like, it's like we're getting worse. From 2005 to 2015 we got better, and then like that went upwards again. What's the blame for that? I don't know. I really don't know. I think, like, again, you'd have to look on a massive larger scale of simply fitness. Fitness is a component of health and obesity and stuff like that. You have to take a big step back from that and look at the government legislations, and look at, like, they're trying to put in this thing now of vending machines in schools, all this type of stuff. And I think I've actually read a few of the reports that came out recently on HSE, just on, like, they put in like 30 action plans of what they wanted to do. Did you read that? And I was reading, I was like, some of them, yes, as an intervention it probably would work, but I think it's down to solely educating the TDs and stuff as well. Because I'm reading it and I'm like, what's that going to do? Like, do you know?
It feels like they're throwing something at the wall and let's see if this works. No,
it's like
loads of different little things. Instead of like just stepping, as you said, stepping back and looking at it as a whole. And people, you said a couple of times, oh, you know, you definitely do with clients as well, and I do quite a lot. It's this question, why? Right? People don't ask that enough. So like, ask people, why are you doing that? So what do you hope to achieve by implementing this?
Exactly.
And it's like, but why have we become obese? Like what has happened? Everybody's different. It's just such an individualized thing, but there is a general factor that's causing us to overeat.
Yeah.
And for me, it's, in my opinion, I think we're obese because we don't realise the health factors. We don't understand. People don't understand that if they keep eating and aren't exercising or aren't burning it off, then their body just keeps storing fat. And as much as that might be hard to believe that people think, a lot of people out there just think food is just food. They don't see it in any other aspect. Like, you know,
that's actually a great point. But to touch on something else first, I think hugely associated with the obesity side of things is socioeconomic factors. Like, although we are of the recession now, it's very clear that lower social class living is associated with higher obesity. So obviously convenience food, like if you went to get a salad and like Shopton and stuff, it's tenner for a salad. Like, you know, that's for some people that can be a lot of money to pay for healthy food. If you went to most places, chances are you'll get a chicken burger a lot cheaper. And again, although we can educate them all we want on calories in, calories out, movement, food labeling, all this stuff, energy balance, like behavioural change, and take into account socioeconomic factors, which is much above our pay grade, is something which is obviously massively influencing. Even take into account that the rate of children that walk to school is massively down in the last 5 years. Even though schools are being built more in closer proximity, they're not walking to school as much.
Like we done a post recently, and I kind of said, like, have you adapted your nutrition to your lifestyle? So people haven't. So people have been eating a certain way. And now our lifestyle has gotten more sedentary than ever. Yet we're still eating the same way.
Exactly.
You know, and that's why when I keep talking about energy balance, it's only because I firmly believe in it. That it's like, you know, if people understand, I say it to people, listen, and it sounds a bit kind of a dictatorship is, but like, I'm like, you get a certain amount. That's it. You get a certain amount of calories that you can have. You know, you're different to me and everybody else, but if you can figure that number out, once you stay in around that figure, you'll either stay away if you want to, and you get the picture. But then I'm like, if you go over that, you're deciding to go over that, and when you go over that, your body goes into fat storage. Okay, so then it becomes your responsibility. If you're feeding your kid, all right, and you figure out what keeps them the same way, what kind of food, because kids eat kind of the same stuff, you know, week on week. If you can figure out what they eat and they're increasing in weight, you should realise that they're increasing weight because you're giving them more energy than they need. So you have to adapt it. So I'm not saying the kids on diets or anything like that, but I'm saying if your kid is becoming overweight, it's from you feeding your kid. You're feeding your kid.
100%.
So I'd love if there was somewhere for parents to come and be educated if they wanted that. Do you know, if they want, and that's the thing, if they want that, you can't force anybody. But if there was somewhere like, all right, so you don't understand nutrition on a very basic level, let's talk about it. Like, you know, but I think it's that action of blaming other factors. If you understand nutrition, if you understand energy balance, how it works, then you have, I call it power. Like,
that would elicit massive change. Even taking through, like, if we did, like, even if there was centres set up to teach parents this, and like, you know, even like not rewarding their children with food, such simple stuff which has massive impact. Like, I mean, I know I was rewarded with food when I was younger. Culturally, Ireland, we associate a lot of things with food. Do you know what I mean? Sunday roast, all this type of stuff. We associate a lot of events with overeating, and like, as well as that, obviously we're massive drinkers, and alcohol is something to take into account. But education for parents, and I think it's quite, although obviously we're still, the obesity epidemic in Ireland and globally is still probably going up, especially in Ireland. Like, the childhood factor is quite scary. Like, the fact that 1 in 4 children is now obese. But there's all this funding put into legislations and stuff. And I probably, again, I'm not saying I know the answer. I haven't read enough into it, just touched the surface. But like, it's still quite scary. 1 in 4 is like, that's soon going to become 1 in 3.
And that's what frightens me is that people say, oh, health is booming, and I'm like, yes, it is, but it doesn't seem to be, like, I was training a teacher here who I respect pretty well, and she's a primary school teacher, and she believes that, like, you know, in a couple of generations time it will flip. I'm not sure, like, because yes, some people are becoming educated, but again, not enough people are. Like,
I think that goes back to the fact that if you go into this bubble of fitness, yes, there's a lot of people interested. I get it, like, day-on-day inquiries. You get day-on-day inquiries. Business is booming. People have more disposable income to spend on coaching, on PT. Take yourself out of that and put yourself on a broader scale of Ireland. There's not that many. You know, like, it's easy to look at it from that perspective of like people solely coming in and looking at, oh, it's definitely going to change because people have so much influence in their health. But that's because we're looking in a one-dimensional perspective of health and fitness and gym and stuff. Whereas like take yourself out of that and we're nowhere near where we need to be. Like
if you have conversations with family and friends who aren't, like you realise very quickly not everyone is into it. Like I've had conversations with my dad or people and I'm just like, ooh, like, you have no interest whatsoever in this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Like, yeah. So I was trying to I don't know, figure it out I suppose and see, hopefully there's a change, but I just think education is the only factor. Like I can't see it happening until that actually
we'll do what we can, like.
That's exactly it. And it took a lot for me as well to come back and realise, my friend kind of put me back in my box and was like, Ian, he goes like, change people in ATP first and then walk from there, and it's like that one person a day. If you educate one person a day, and it is kind of coming back from that grander scale and really enjoying getting that one person to get it and then kind of pass that on to their kids or whatever, like, you know what I mean. So like I said, people get caught up in diets, like, but what are the other key factors to health, improving body composition that you feel people overlook?
I did a charity talk on this, and this was over a year ago, and I still keep the same. I still stick by the same rules in that the 3 areas which I find people massively overlook and neglect that they could instantly be doing to help that get leaner, fitter, stronger, healthier, that are free, are stress, sleep, and your mindset with food. So stress management, effective like stress management through total allostatic load is a phrase which is basically means your total stress load. It's people think, again going back to what I said of when I set up integrative and people thinking of 2 separate entities, like when you get someone to go into a gym and they have a shit session and they just don't do well, they solely think, oh, maybe my pre-workout meal wasn't good, maybe I'm just a bit tired today. Maybe it's because you got in a fight with your partner on the way to the gym. Maybe it's because you've bills to pay and you're worried about it. It's all those factors. So stress management, that's something that is your total allostatic load. It's how much you're training, what's your caffeine intake, how much you're sleeping, all that together. Sleep, because people just don't sleep enough. We know that statistically that people do not sleep enough. And it is amazing, like once you, like without changing anything, once you get people to sleep more, everything else just slowly comes into place, like, and through the most simple techniques and mindset with food and what we already touched on, just simple stuff like food labeling. If I give you a Mars bar, how do you view that? Am I saying you need to eat a Mars bar every day? Am I saying that having a Mars bar is bad for you or good for you? How do you view having that? How do you view your diet? Do you view foods in a negative aspect? Do you have any contextual cues, triggers to overeating, stuff like that? And those are the 3 areas I feel with regards to not just body composition and health that people massively overlook, and it's something I quite try to hit home a lot in my coaching, is those 3 areas that make sure that they're absolutely nailed.
Yeah, like definitely from a questionnaire point of view, the thing we always see is stress is up around 4 or 5 out of 5 for people, like, but then like I keep saying for frustration, but it's just from years of coaching, is like I ask people, okay, what are you doing about it? And it's like nothing. We need to, like, don't, and this is a mindset shift of, like, instead when something's happening to you, kind of decide I'm going to take action, or just let this thing happen to me. You know what I mean? And when you see stress out of 5, or I'm not getting good night's sleep, and then we ask the questions, and again it's just because we know it's like, are you on screens before you go to bed? Are you trying deep breathing techniques? Have you written a journal about your stress? And it's like no. It's like, okay, so let's try these few things. And when people buy in, and it's getting that buy-in, I think as a coach, creating buy-in is a big thing, like, so creating trust, and that's from like social media and see your questions and stuff. And when you tell somebody, okay, we're going to work on your stress, like the food is we have food kind of covered, we're going to work on stress now. If your coach doesn't have buy-in, they'll be like, no, they'll leave it off. But if you have buy-in as a coach, it's like, okay, and that's where I think if any coaches listen to this, if you're new starting out, whatever, you might struggle at the beginning.
Exactly.
But you do have to create that kind of trust factor, because 100%. Some clients will do whatever you tell them to do, like, and they see the results, like, So overlooking things like stress and sleep, and just diving in to the nutrition and just the exercise, which is very important. But it's, if you don't deal with that factor, when the nutrition or the exercise starts slowing down, all these other factors are still here.
I like to put it to clients as like laying the foundations of a house. So I'm like, when they come to me first and they're like, the nutrition training stuff, they're bricks. We're building, like, if you're building a mansion to get in your best shape possible, whatever, you got to make sure those foundations are solid, like, exactly. On how your approach to your diet is, on how you're stressed. And the thing is with stress and sleep and stuff, a lot of time it'll create like a negative feedback loop. So like someone who doesn't sleep a lot, who doesn't pay attention to their sleep, they just look at it as something that they need to do, let's say, that I have to sleep, okay, do you know what I mean? Not as something that they want to do or that they view as very beneficial. So then they don't sleep, they're stressed because they don't sleep, they over caffeinate, therefore they don't sleep more, and it's just it's a vicious feedback loop of like, they lie in on the weekends because they haven't slept during the week, that's just up in their sleep-wake cycle, then they feel tired all the time, they feel groggy, and once you look into these things, people are like, whoa, I did not realise that. So like I had a client last week, and It's just something simple, like she seemed to be sleeping well, and then like her sessions were poor, she was quite stressed overall from workload, and then she was waking up feeling groggy. So I said, look, set your alarm for half an hour earlier, get up half an hour earlier. She tried it for a few days, slept great and felt great. And just for a simple tweaking in her sleep-wake cycle, making sure that she was getting even cycles, just has so much benefit.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that everyone needs to just don't focus on the finer details of what I program for her, but just the aspect of that, of something of a half an hour change, and she literally felt so much better then.
Yeah, like that small change,
and it's free, like,
and that's the big thing as well, like, you know. And I think people trying to just underestimate the importance of all these other factors, like, you know. So yes, the exercise and the training, and I say this like as someone who owns a gym, yes, they're important, but you know, look at the other factors as well, and don't be afraid to ask, you know, if you are stressed or if you're struggling with something, don't be afraid to ask your coach or somebody else. But like a big thing I'd kind of move on to there is, I've been called it quite a lot. I'm not against life coaches, but I don't see myself as a life coach at all. Yeah. But I definitely see the role of a PT has progressed.
Oh yeah.
So you have PTs who will come in, the PT give you a session, happy days, clock out, go home. Coaches will kind of come in, give you a session, give you some nutrition info, you know. Then I see the next step, and I don't want to see it as life coaching. I see it as just an overall look at everything of your health, so like a health coach more than anything else. Yeah. So like that's where we're looking at stress, we're looking at sleep. Where do you feel the line is as a coach?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, like one thing which is massive, which is kind of coming out of it in the industry now, is just like, you might have heard the phrase like staying within your lane. Yeah. Like if someone comes to me and they're like, oh, the meniscus in my knee is fucked, and you know my ACL is gone, and I need to like I can't do squats, legs down, I can't load in this pattern, and what should I do? And I'm like, I don't know that, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, you need to go to a physio, like, but with regards to what you directly asked, is like you have to hit a threshold of like, I try not to, like, personally, I try not to just get into personal things, you know, because although I will empathise, and it is important for PTs and coaches to not just view yourself as someone as a rep counter. And within this industry, because it's so easy to buy in, you can go do a course, you can come back and get your qualification, you can earn decent money as a PT, starting out even, and you can just be a rep counter. You can make good money, but like that's the difference of the quality of service, and that you have to, do you know, how was your day? Like asking something, how was your day? Do you know, how's work going? How are you feeling today? And even at that, it can actually progress the results, being able to actually coach and not PT, and as well as PT, and to the fact that, like, if you know someone has had a very, very bad day and they're stressed off their head, and you can taper the volume of that session, you'll have them feeling better, do you know? You won't go in and try to hit a 1 RM squat if someone has just had 800 milligrams of caffeine, slept 4 hours and had a very bad day at work. Do you know, it wouldn't be the most wise thing to do. So asking these questions on such a simple basis, but then it will also, like I found, of progressing your PTing to coaching and building better relationships and getting to understand your client more and being able to empathise with them, it just helps the process so much more.
Massively.
They get more out of it, like, 100%.
And I think, like, you know, again, as you touched on, if someone comes in, they're feeling crap, not feeling great, I'm like, all right, this was our set routine we were going to do today. Now we're going to slam some balls and ropes, you know, and you're going to feel better leaving the session. It's just understanding that part of it as well. And it's about building a place of truth that they can come in and tell you that they're, you know, not feeling great and stuff. And that's again, it comes down to that buy-in, in my opinion. So now I didn't have written down here to touch on, but it's something that I feel, for some reason, unnecessarily avoid talking about a lot, when it's probably one of the main factors we have. Is alcohol.
Oh yeah.
You know, people as an Irish culture, like, you know, we live for it, like, you know, the weekend. Obviously, when it comes to weight loss, people just forget that there's calories in alcohol. Can you explain? I don't know. Like, could you explain what alcohol does to the body when we start drinking it? You know, and with this, like, alcohol's not bad, like, you know, but it's understanding that if your goal is weight loss, how it's going to impact you. Yeah.
So, alcohol, like, to touch on it first of all, like, within the realm of people, like people that will be listening to this or watching this, Gen Pop, people that want to get healthier, happier, fitter, stronger. A lot of, I find personally, people a lot of time when they start, they're like, I'm not going to drink for 8 weeks. I'm like, why? why are you not going to drink for 8 weeks? Because the chances are, if you restrict yourself for 6 weeks, then you'll go all out. You know, it's unsustainable, unrealistic. Instead of going out twice a week, let's try once. Do you know what I mean? Instead of having pints, let's try maybe some spirits with lighter mixers and less amount, because you don't want to get absolutely smashed from them either. But regards to alcohol itself, even I had a client a few weeks ago, or last week, checked in and they were like, great week, went out 2 days a weekend for 2 occasions, went whatever, blah blah. It was great. And you know, I didn't have as much. That was fantastic. And I was like, okay, so you didn't have as much on the night, but throughout the weekend your units of alcohol are quite high.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not talking from a fat loss perspective, I'm talking from a general health perspective. Never mind the fact of hangover and stuff, your productivity will be through the floor, and your sessions and everything will be affected. But from a general health perspective, that much units of alcohol just obviously isn't advisable. With regards to alcohol itself, it's treated as a toxin within the body. So ethanol gets priority metabolism. So when people, this is kind of a mindset thing as well, is that people used to think back in the day that alcohol caused, well, especially within the fitness industry, that alcohol caused direct fat storage. And the reason for that was because when you ingest food, maybe it's a balanced meal of carbs, proteins, fat, and you have a pint. A lot of people do. You go to the pub, you have chips or whatever. You have a dinner and a pint. The ethanol gets priority metabolism, so the chances of the nutrients in the food has increased likelihood to be put into adipose tissue, because the ethanol gets priority metabolism, because it's treated as a toxin. Your body sees it as a toxin, wants to get rid of it straight away. So as well as that, the calorie, like, you have to take into consideration, the calories per gram of alcohol is quite high, 7 calories per gram, with some upwards of 8.5 depending on the alcohol. Other things to take into account with alcohol would be the colour of the alcohol. So the darker colour, you're more likely to get a hangover. The darker colour, you're more likely to have physiological effects. I always tell clients that when they're training, to try training separately away from alcohol is there. So if you're going out on a Saturday night, I say try training early Saturday morning. The reason why is because we know that alcohol has a lot of negative physiological effects on hormonally and physiologically with regards to IGF-1. So your glucose uptake of carbs will be decreased, your muscle protein synthesis will be decreased. All this stuff which we want after training, that these hormonal regulations that we want are going to be massively down-regulated. So that's why simple advice I people tell to go out is just try separate your session from your session. Try separate, your actual training session in the morning from the evening. Bank some calories, because obviously it is very calorie dense. So without going into over-analysing things, because I think when you go into if you're there with MyFitnessPal and trying to track Smirnoff Ice, that can cause anxiety and stuff. Simple allowances of cutting out some fats and carbs for the day, keeping protein and veg high so you stay full, and then just going and enjoying a few drinks. The biggest thing I find with alcohol is the after effect. So the day after, when you're on the couch watching a series and you feel sorry for yourself, and they're getting Dominoes and stuff, and I'm like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with going out once a week, enjoying stuff socially, because again, health is inclusive of social factors, so you have to include social outings as part of health. I would argue that going out once a week and enjoying yourself with friends, compared to restricting yourself on a chicken and broccoli diet for 8 weeks, I would argue that going out is more healthy, because it includes social factors, and that takes into account the mental aspect of things. But just how you go about it, not doing the dog on an eater and go binge drinking, obviously.
Absolutely
exactly
drunk, and I think it's important. A big one, frustration for me, and clients know very well at this stage with me, don't come into me hungover. Don't come in and train hungover. Your body does not want to train. It's the last thing it wants to do. So it's sweating it out mentality.
That's an excellent point to touch on.
I just think it's dangerous more than anything else. I've had people come in, I've sent them home, glassy eyes. I said I sweat out. No. You're already massively dehydrated here.
You're dehydrated. Your motor unit recruitment, again, another physiological effect. Your ability to recruit muscle fibers, your ligament and joint, your elasticity is going to be so down that your risk of injury is going to be significantly higher the day after. And you always see the people I'll do a massive session the day after to sweat it out. Or again, going back to a mindset side of things, to look at it as a exercise as a form of energy output. So they're looking at, I'm going to do a massive hit session to burn 1,000 calories, and that'll burn off last night. The minute you start looking at exercise as a form of output and not a stimulus is where you start running into trouble. For exercise is a stimulus. It's like people, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's like people looking at cardio as just a form of burning calories. So I do 400 calories twice a week, whereas I try to say to people, look at it as a stimulus. I'm doing 30 minutes of cardio at 75%, or I'm at 75% max heart rate, staying between 120 and 140 beats per minute, so I can create adaptation, so I can work on my fitness. The simple thing of looking at that and going into a session the next day after being hungover, everything can have massive effect.
I think though, it comes back, one of the questions I was asked when I threw it up, and it just kind of shows again that people don't fully understand you, but you said it there, what you should do exercise for as a stimulus. But someone asked, how many calories should I burn through exercise a day? And it is that. It's understanding that exercise is not for that. Exercise is for all these other things. These are all massive health benefits. weight loss, like calorie burn, like that's just a little bonus that you might get. And again, when it comes to general population people, some people go absolutely hatchet, will burn 500 calories in a session. Majority of people are going through the motions, but still getting a workout, getting the benefits of physical exercise, but you're probably burning 200 calories, 250 calories. Don't go away thinking, I've now earned 500 calories.
Exercise itself burns very little.
Yeah, that's the relationship of like, I'm training to, you know, instead of training for.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
And it's kind of creating that relationship. One of the other questions is just, when we're here, is that someone just asked, like, is there such thing as too much veg?
There's a such thing as too much anything.
Yeah.
There is. But to be fair, you'd want to be slamming veg to be getting too much. I think most of the people, in general, not just in this, but in general, most people do not eat enough veg. So, is there enough? Yes, to the point of that. Especially if you have specific gut issues, you know, if you have diverticulitis, something like that. If you have something in your microbiome, your gut that isn't fully right, that you might need to pay something attention to that. If you have IBD, something, you may need to pay attention to cruciferous veg, certain types of veg. In general, if you have absolutely no health issues and you eat too much veg, fibre intake would be too high, and that could cause, to reflect on what we touch on, you might gain weight again from holding stool in your gut, or you might just find things move too quickly from too much fibre, and again your digestive health might not be the best. But being honest, you wouldn't have to worry about that.
You're eating quite a lot. So what would be your top tips to anybody watching this now and maybe struggling with weight loss or is always on that yo-yo diet path? Like, what would you say to them to try and switch the mindset?
It's a simple question, it's a tough question.
Yeah.
I would say, I think that with Gen Pop people, as I said, relating to the audience of who you train, you coach, and who I train, who I coach, is that you have to get the foundations right first. Sleep, stress, but massively I just find when people inquire is the mindset side of things. Do you know, simply people freaking out being like, I have an occasion this weekend, what am I going to do? Do you know, and the anxiety is through the roof, and then, or they need to they forgot, like if they're on a meal plan, and I use meal plans but I don't like to rely on them, if they forgot a meal and they lose their shit because they forgot a meal, and they can't make simple nutritional choices because of that. Stuff like that, simple mindset stuff, paves the way for all the future that comes to come. Again, that lays the foundations for any fat loss goal to come, because you can stick to the meals given and you can neglect all the mindset side stuff and you can get leaner, but there's chances of relapse are a lot higher. And that's where you see these yo-yo diets occur, because they go into unrealistic and unsustainable approaches that are probably highly restrictive and not specific, as well as being drastic. So pair all those things together and they get great results, they might get great results, and then they relapse. And that's yo-yo up and down, and the reason is because they didn't address those underlying factors. So that would be my best advice, to just address the foundations of mainly mindset side of things, broadening, not just getting the methods, so not just given stuff and going and doing it, but understanding yourself, asking questions, understanding principles, simple principles, so that you yourself can be empowered, your independence can be improved, your skill set, your confidence in your ability to take over your own basic choices of health can then be improved, so that you don't need to rely on a meal plan or macro tracking long term, you know.
Brilliant.